I get like 20 yards down the hallway, and like an actual doctor like sees me, and he's like, and he just stops, and he looks at me, and he just turns to like this entire corridor of where I was and everyone else was, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Me? What did I do?"
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else going on. Like, what are you gonna do? Sit at home, beat your dick, or are you gonna watch C Forecast?
Shut up and sit down.
So, Deanie Weedy up there. I know you've had several run-ins and instances over the years.
Some people might call me injury prone, mostly my mom. But yeah, so the one I guess bring up because it is college. We want to talk about college. Last day of finals, I don't know, call it sophomore year, who knows. I just finished my last exam, and it was one of our friends' birthday at the same time. So obviously I'm blacking out. It's the appropriate amount of alcohol.
That's the only thing we did back then.
That was the only thing to do. And so, yeah, I go to the bars, get some food late night, just a monster tray of Chinese food. And
did you go to Shang? Did you get the Shang box?
Yeah, I got a Shang box.
There you go.
I filled up both sides.
That's the only way to do it. You have to fill up both sides.
Yep. and then I followed friends up on top of what was it was the Book Exchange. It was a bookstore on the University of Maryland, which does not exist anymore. Was it the Book Exchange? I don't know.
Yeah, it was called Book Exchange. It doesn't exist anymore. There's now a apartment complex there, I believe.
Right. I thought it was in the basement now, but I don't know if that's true either. But either way, yeah, there was like a staircase you could go up and then just like kind of climb over like a little fence thing up there, a little wall, and then you're on this roof. And we're just chilling, eating on the roof. And I'm like, I'm still, blackout drunk. So I want to
hold on real quick. It is a thing at Maryland, right? To go on rooftops. Like many people go on the roof of buildings. They try to get on the roofs. They drink on the roof. Well, I mean, it probably is a thing anywhere, but just saying it's not uncommon in that area to see people trying to do what he was doing. Right.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, I imagine this place in particular, because it's right next to all the bars and there's a whole bunch of housing right there. It's for sure a common spot. But there's like a clear flat part that everyone just goes to and sits at, whereas opposed to the rest of the rooftop, which is, slanted like most roofs are. And I'm drunk and I don't understand like descent angles at this anymore, apparently. So I just go on an adventure. By that, I mean I walk over to the slanted parts of the roofs and eventually realized like, oh fuck, I can't stand on this. I had like shitty bar shoes on that couldn't grip it at all, and I just started sliding. So I get to the edge and I'm just like, well, I also decided to bring my food with me. And I was like on an adventure just with this giant tray.
So you had a tray of Shang and you're sliding down the roof with your food.
Yeah. And I start walking and then I slip and then start sliding and I just toss it right in the air and just all over me. And I'm just like struggling to get back up, and I was just such give up mode because it was a whole full night of drinking. I lost all my food. I was tired, and I'm just like I'm at the edge of this rooftop. I'm like, all right, guess we just got to jump. It's only one story. I didn't like. I'm just like
it's not like a 6-story fucking leap of faith here.
I set myself down.
It's a little higher than a story. I'd say it's like 1.5. It's almost 2.
Okay, so
it's at least 10 feet.
For reference, I went back to this later on. I'm like, if I really got a good running start, I could jump and touch the top of it. Like, it was not tall at all.
Okay.
I could have just like hung off, like broken the gutter and just like be fine. But instead I sat down, jumped off, and broke my wrist and my ankle just clean right immediately. Just fucking the smith.
Did you hear the crunch? Do you remember hearing the crunch?
No, there was no crunch. Honestly, I didn't believe, like, I'd never broken a bone until that point, and I just thought I just sprained it because I was like, it hurt a little bit worse than a sprain. And then I started touching it. I'm like, wow, this really hurts. I know I'm hammered at this point. I'm like, how does this hurt this bad when I'm drunk? I don't understand. And
was it your ankle or your wrist that you first noticed?
Definitely the ankle, because I couldn't stand. And then and then when I started hopping away and I got to like one of these like waist high walls that exist all over Maryland for no reason, and I just tried to put my hands on it, and I just realized my wrist is completely fucked. And so my left wrist and left ankle are both broken like smithereens. And and then I just had this moment where like me and my 4 other like hammered friends got to figure out what's wrong with me at this point and what to do about it. So the least hammered of them all works at interns at a hospital in DC or nearby in PG County, and so he's like, "You're going to the hospital." I'm like, "All right."
Hey, now it's Dean's adventure to go to the hospital in PG County.
So I climb into the back seat of like a Mustang and with like 4 people in it, and it's crowded, and I'm just constantly hitting my broken bones on everything. It's so miserable. And I get to the hospital, check me in.
This is late too, right? It's like 1:30 to
No, it was after bars let out. It was 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess at this point, it's the guy who drove and another guy are there, and whoever else was with us, they departed. So there's 3 of us. I go to the back, getting treated and stuff. They get an X-ray. Like, yep, broken as shit. And then I just like sitting there. They give me morphine, which obviously a great idea when you're hammered. I thought
So did they give you the drip, like the morphine drip in the IV bag? Or?
I guess I was hammered. I don't know for sure how it happened. I just know I got morphine because I felt great. And then they were like, "All right, you can get out of here." And I was like, "Cool." And they gave me 1 crutch because my left wrist was broken, so I couldn't use 2 crutches.
So it's your let's clarify, left wrist, left ankle, and he gives you 1 crutch, which you can't use on your left side because you have a left broken wrist, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
So you were like just leaning to the right then, and only
I was leaning to the right and then jumping with my right foot.
Oh, that sounds miserable too.
I was hammered in on morphine, so I was having a great time. But I get like 20 yards down the hallway, and an actual doctor like sees me, and he's like, and he just stops, and he looks at me, and he just turns to like this entire corridor of where I was and everyone else was, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Me? What did I do?" He's like, "Don't fucking move." I'm like, and at that point, I realized like, "Oh shit, it's really hard to balance just standing here." and he brings up like a wheelchair, and they take me out, and he's just scolding these idiot interns that have to work this terrible night shift. And
wait, so did you have like brace? Like, what did you have other than the crutch?
They put like the quick cast things that like they can just quickly mold, like just to sort of split, and then they wrap it, and then there's like some supporting material in there until I can get like a legit cast.
So the doctor just sees this dude with a fucking with an ankle splint and a wrist splint going with a solo crutch, just winging it down the hallway
at like 4 o'clock in the morning, hopped up on morphine.
And I was booking it too. Like I was energized.
It was you and the crackhead that were trying to escape, right? So
I didn't have a cocaine head guy, Mr. Guy with me. I don't know.
Dude, you were that guy.
I got some cocaine in the car.
Yo, that would be a great movie, by the way. Like, cocaine guy and then the book exchange guy
and
escape from a hospital.
You take the blown out windows,
cocaine guy and Brad.
And
Dude, we're getting out of here. It's the 3 Musketeers.
And you're just taking your giant load of cocaine away from the cartel.
Yep.
They're coming after you. But anyway, so all right, now so they wheel me out, and I find my 2 friends that are left, and they're just passed out in the middle of, like, clearly visibly hammered, sleeping like in the middle of the lobby. And I get there, we're kind of talking for a second. I think one of them, he just gets up, he's like, "All right, we're going," and he just leaves. And he gets into a cab, and I guess I don't know. We're also still hammered, so we just don't really pay attention. We don't realize that he just left, and he leaves.
He just leaves by himself.
Yeah, he leaves and gets into a cab, and just gets into the cab and just sits and goes back to sleep. And the cab is just like, "Where do you want to go, man?" And he turns around and looks at him. "Hey, what the fuck?" And he starts yelling at him. And he wakes up, and he says, I don't know. And he just grabs all the maps in the backseat of this cab, and he just runs out of the cab. And so he just shows back up in this waiting room with a pan full of maps. And then we just like, all right, that happens. And we just leave, and we're just drunk drive back out of there. That's my story.
The best part is like we're leaving. He calls a cab, even though you guys had a car to go home with, right?
Well, he just walked down. There's just a row of cabs at hospitals.
Yeah. This is pre-Uber.
Yeah,
right?
pre-Uber. so he just jumped into one.
I'm going home.
Yeah, he said it to himself, not to the cab.
Yeah.
And so the cab's just like, "Hey, mister, where do you want to go?" And he just proceeds to fall asleep. But
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah, so
Yeah, we had some sketchy times,
Dude, that whole fucking story sounds really uncomfortable, honestly.
yeah, I don't recommend breaking 2 bones.
So then it was how long that you were like that though? Like a couple months, right?
Yeah, so it was like literally the first day of my summer vacation, and luckily I didn't have anything planned, so I just didn't do anything for that summer. Let me tell you, it sucks to lose a hand, like everything, and then to lose a foot on the same side. It really fucking sucks.
I'm sure it does, though.
Yeah, so I just had a scooter, and then I had to drive with one hand, which is not easy.
Yeah,
but hey.
I just remember hearing this story third party before I got to talk to you afterwards. Like it was like probably like 2 or 3 weeks after it had happened, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, Dean broke like his entire left side of his body." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He broke his wrist and his hand. I was like, "Doing what?" I jumped off the edge of the book exchange. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I told my dad. I got home and I woke up the next morning, just 2 broken bones. Just like, no, this didn't happen. And I call my dad. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I got good news and bad news. Good news is I got straight A's. Bad news is I broke my wrist and my ankle." And he's like, "Okay, just don't come home." I'm like,
disappointed.
Yeah,
it's tough love, man.
He's not. I mean, that was the right move. He's not good at caring for living things. So I went to my parents are divorced, and it was the right move to go to my mom's.